Africans ruin Essencefest. You would think you walked around and you just heard Jerusalem, Ikayanami, he no gonna say no. You would think you walked around and everybody was like, baby, come down, come down. That's not what happened. Every corner you turned, you heard what them fans say, which is a traditionally African American tribulation song. Let me tell you something. When it comes to diaspora wars, I do believe Africans be lying. But even more, African Americans be lying as well. Because everybody wants to drive their own narrative. So people make up stuff and say whatever they can to sell the point across. Sometimes, most of the time, it ain't true. Not even sometimes. What am I talking about? Like, oh, African Americans ain't got no culture. Oh, Africans trying to take over our spaces. Not the case. If Africans were to be present at your festival, trust me, you will know. There will be the smell of suya in the air. Uncles all around the area. Burna Boy and Davido would have been a headliner. It would have been insane. I was there, and my experience was once again enjoying and celebrating and reveling in all the beauty that is Black American culture. The food, the dances, the music. I never for one second thought, man, Africans finally took us over. Never. A festival that starts to decline, and rather than us talk about the logistics or things that we could do to make things better, technicalities, where did we go wrong? Was it sponsorships? Was it the economy? Was it the rollback on DEI programs? None of that. The first thing we could think of, an African bought it. And no offense to Rich, but if you ever heard Richard Dennis talk, he's not even the African that you're thinking about. He's for the most part a lot more American than he is. Like, he's not like, like the way it described it, you made it sound like Patrice Lumumba. Somebody with that kind of name came and took over your business, just came straight from the continent and took over. That's not what happened. And and up until now, for the most part, these are the people that have organized Essencefest. This is what they look like. I don't think anybody has had any complaints for the most part. I don't think it was divisive when they were in control. I don't think there was any narratives being sold. But for some reason, when anything seems to go wrong, we start to point fingers and look at each other and start to blame ourselves. And I hate to say this, and those of you who know, those Africans who know, guess what? Africans do this for their own festivals too. When it comes to Afrochella, when it comes to Afrofuture, now the current name, people will make all this commentary about what Afrofuture is and what it isn't. Rather than celebrating the progress of such a great venture in the diaspora, rather than complimenting it, the first thing we do is break it down and criticize a people that are doing more with less. A people that are doing more with less on both sides. And the first thing we can think is this is the time to be over analytical and critical. Listen, I'm all for being over analytical and critical. I love it when it comes to film, when it comes to art, because I think artistic integrity is important. It is important for us to have integrity every single time we put our voice out there, we put paint to paper, and every time we sing, we create or convey a message. In this particular case, though, for a festival that's an experience that's bringing people together, that is not the time or the place. I'm just saying. Nobody took over anything. Nobody was planning to take over anything, and nobody was trying to do evil in anything. They were trying their best with the little that they had. Anybody that you know that is in any way in the back end of this operation tried their best. The last minute rollout of the main act could not possibly have been blamed on one woman who happens to be the CEO. Because for some reason, all of this protect Black women went out the window as soon as this whole Africans ruined Essencefest narrative started. And by a lot of people who weren't even there, they said, I passed upon it, but I'm gonna say as much as possible to make sure that Essencefest feels my fury and my anger. Then there were the people that were coming for influencers. And I just said, like, man, everybody is just... It's a sad state of affairs. Because if you were there, you know the truth. You know that was farthest. Talking about they had a jollof and jambalaya. Like, what? What? That is the reason? I remember I asked somebody, I had a whole conversation with somebody, and I asked them, what exactly did they take over? They said some people were hosting their own bookshop event or whatever during Essencefest. And I said, the little bookshop? A little bookshop, whether African American, African, or French, even Scandinavian, a little bookshop is the reason that Essencefest had issues this year. We're grasping at straws, and it's embarrassing. It's so embarrassing. I got nothing else to say. But it's all lies. Most people, I'm not saying it's all lies. I'm not saying like there isn't an evident, decline in what Essencefest used to be, evidently. But saying that the reason is because an African invested in it or bought it, and because there's an African woman as a CEO, it's just not true. And this narrative that you guys are trying to sell is dangerous. But get your clicks, get your likes, get your engagements. Do what you got to do. Just know that it's not worth it in the end. It's just not. It's not fulfilling to sell out your people with ideologies that are rooted in bitterness or envy. It's just not. But that's my 2 cents. You get mad at me if you want. That's just my 2.